Welcome to I Survived the 80s pub quiz on this bank holiday in the end of May 2025. Before we go any further, I really want to give a massive big shout out to everybody who subscribed to the channel over the last couple of weeks. I've been away on holiday, so I've not really been doing a great deal on the channel, and it's just blown up over the past 2 weeks. So absolutely from the heart, thank you to everybody who subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, go and subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it does help me out. So thank you to everybody. So this is the first live session that I've done on this channel. I've done them on other channels. This is the first one on the I Survived the 80s. So this one's a little bit different. I thought I wanted to go back to the 80s and mix it up a little bit with what we were doing in lockdown and have a pub quiz. So I have got 50 questions for you, starting off from easy, and then we'll progressively get harder. I want you to put in the chat the answer to the questions, and then after each of the sections, there are 4 sections. After each of the sections, I will go through the answers, and then we'll move on to the next section. At the end of each section, there is a bonus picture round with a image from a movie or an actor or soundtrack, and you are to tell me what soundtrack that one is from. Okay, so just bear with me one moment whilst I just try and understand what YouTube is doing. Seems to have an issue for some reason. I think we're live. Cool. Looks like we are now live. So again, thank you to everybody for subscribing. Let's crack on with this 80s pub quiz. Oh, and also I've got some really good videos coming up soon as well, so you don't want to miss out on them. I've got some retro gaming videos I'm creating, flashback to some of the 80s games, and I've been and bought some of these retro, well, not retro, but they are Transformer toys that I bought last week. So I'm going to do a bit of an unboxing on them as well on screen. So anyway, let's start with level 1, round 1. These are the easy questions. You shouldn't have any issues with any of these if you are a true 80s fan. So let's start. So question number 1. Wake Me Up Before You Go Go was a hit for which band? Wake Me Up Before You Go Go was a hit for which band? Question number 2. Which movie featured a DeLorean? It's quite an easy one, that one. I hope you all get that one right. Which movie featured a DeLorean? Question number 3. Which toy line featured small bears with belly badges? Try and say that when you've had a couple of Iron Brew. Which toy lineup featured small bears with badges on their bellies? Question number 4. Quite an easy one, this one, I hope. Who played Indiana Jones in the 1980s movies? Who played Indiana Jones? And if you're going to do this as a group, have a competition, have a wager on it between you. Not money though, I can't tolerate money. Number 5. What was the first music played on MTV in 1981? What was the first music video played on MTV in 1981? Question number 6. What 1982 film featured a friendly alien who wanted to call home? Very easy. If you were born in the 80s, early 90s, you will get that one definitely. Which 1982 movie featured a friendly alien and the phrase of phone home? Number 7. What handheld console launched in 1989? Which console handheld console launched in 1989? Question number 8. Girls Just Want to Have Fun was by what artist? And I can see Nick's ploughing through the answers there. It's looking good, Nick. Looking good. So, what Girls Just Want to Have Fun was released in 1983 by what artist? Question number 9. Who was the Prime Minister throughout the majority of the 80s? Who was the Prime Minister throughout the majority of the 80s? And the last question, on what game would you expect to find Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet? That is so easy. I can't even believe I put that in there. That is so easy. So what game would you expect to find Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet? And for the bonus round, name that movie. Okay, so go through the answers to level 1. Say these are the easy ones. They do get a bit harder. Question number 1. Wake Me Up Before You Go was a hit by which band? It was Wham. Question number 2. Which movie featured a DeLorean? It was Back to the Future. Question number 3. What toy line featured small bears with badges on their bellies? It was the Care Bears. Question number 4. Who played Indiana Jones in the 1980s movies? It was Harrison Ford. Question number 5. What was the first music video played on MTV in 1981? It was Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles. Number 6. Which 1982 film featured a friendly alien with the phrase phone home? It was, of course, E.T. Number 7. What handheld console launched in 1989? It was the Nintendo Game Boy. Question number 8. Girls Just Want to Have Fun was released in 1983 by what artist? It was Cyndi Lauper. Question number 9. Who was the Prime Minister throughout the majority of the 80s? It was Margaret Thatcher. And question number 10. On what game would you expect to find Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet? It was Cluedo. So well done if you got those right. And then our bonus question. The movie is, of course, Top Gun. And again, these will get harder as we go along. So well done on getting through round 1. Round 2. Medium-ish level. What 1985 movie featured kids from the Goondocks? What 1985 movie featured kids from the Goondocks? Question number 12. Which Prince album included When Doves Cry? So which album included When Doves Cry? I have got a 20-year-old daughter and she is a massive 80s but a huge Prince fan. Vinyl records, like, I'm so proud. Question number 13. Which toy lets you draw with knobs on a red screen? I really had to read that carefully. Which toy lets you draw with knobs on a red screen? Question number 14. Who directed The Shining in 1980? Did it say they were getting a bit trickier? So who directed The Shining in 1980? And if you've not seen the second film, it was released a few years ago, Doctor Sleep, go and watch it. It is a fantastic film. Builds on from The Shining. Absolutely brilliant. Question 15. Don't You Forget About Me is by which band? Don't You Forget About Me is by which band? And out of one of my all-time favourite movies. Oh, here's an easy one for you. Question 16. What toy brand had characters such as Optimus? That should not be in the medium section. That's an easy one. So which toy line had a robot called Optimus? And question 17. What was the name of the cyborg cop in RoboCop? So what was the name of the cyborg cop in RoboCop? That one's a bit trickier. They say they do vary. Question 18. What 80s video game character first appeared in Donkey Kong? And I don't mean Donkey Kong. Which 80s video game character first appeared in Donkey Kong other than Donkey Kong? Question number 19. Who sang the 1984 hit Careless Whisper? That's an easy one. Easy one, that one. So who sang the 1984 hit Careless Whisper? Good, Nick. Yes, you know your 80s. I can tell. 20. Which pop star starred in Desperately Seeking Susan? So which pop star starred in Desperately Seeking Susan? 21. What was the name of the nuclear disaster in 86? Quite an easy one, I think. What was the name of the nuclear disaster in 86? I need a drink while I'm waiting. Okay. 22. What 80s toy transformed from rocks to robots? So which 80s toys transformed from rocks to robots? That's a bit more of a tricky one. 23. 1984. Concert raised funds for Ethiopian famine. What was that concert called? Again, quite an easy one, I think. What 84 concert raised funds for Ethiopian famine relief? I remember all the big Blue Peter campaigns and ordering things and crushing cans and doing bake-offs and that to raise money. I remember it. But what was the concert called? 24. What is the name of the child that Ripley in Aliens rescues? What is the name of the child that Ripley, Sigourney Weaver, very hot in that, rescues in Aliens? 25. Who had a hit with Come On Eileen? One of my all-time 80s favourite tracks ever. Who had a hit with Come On Eileen? 26. What artist was known for Campbell's Soup can paintings? That's a very tricky one. What artist was known for Campbell's Soup can paintings? 27. We're getting trickier now. 27. What was the name of the villainous AI? We're talking AI. This was the 80s. We're talking about AI all the way back then. What was the name or the villainous AI in war games? '28. What 80s slogan encouraged kids to say no to drugs? I use this phrase sometimes, not in the same context, but it just sometimes just comes out in conversation with people. 1980s slogan encouraged kids to say no to drugs. What was it? 29. What was the name of the British sitcom featuring Vivian and Neil? One of the staple programs I was brought up in the 80s, this is. So what was the name of the British sitcom featuring Vivian and Neil? Very underrated. And the last one of this section, question 30. What country did the UK go to war with in 1982? So what country did the UK go to war with in 1982? And your bonus question for this round is fairly easy one, I think, but name that movie. Okay, go back to the answers. So question level number 2. Question number 11. What 1985 movie featured kids from the Goondocks? It was, of course, the Goonies. What Prince album featured When Doves Cry? It was Purple Rain. Probably the best. What toy allowed you to draw with knobs on a red screen? It was, of course, Etch-a-Sketch. Who directed The Shining? In 1980, it was Stanley Kubrick. Don't Forget About Me is by which band? It was Simple Minds. What toy line featured robots with names such as Optimus? It was, of course, Transformers. And again, probably one of my favourite toys of all time. What was the name of the cyborg cop in RoboCop? Tricky one, this one. It was Alex Murphy. He was the police officer that was gunned down and was changed into RoboCop. 18. What 80s video character first appeared in Donkey Kong? And it wasn't Donkey Kong. It was Mario or Jumpman, whichever one you've got. And I know, Nick, you put them both. So well done. 19. Who sang 1984 hit Careless Whisper? It was George Michael. Which pop star starred in the Desperately Seeking Susan? It was Madonna. 21. What was the name of the nuclear disaster in 1986? It was Chernobyl. 22. What 80s toy transformed from rocks into robots? I thought this was a hard one. It was Rock Lords. Rock Lords. I think that was quite a difficult one. And I remember having a couple of them. Nugget, I think, was called one of them. It was like a gold, looked like it's supposed to look like a piece of nugget, gold nugget, I guess. But his name was Nugget. That's the only one I seem to remember. But I did have a couple of them. They used to play quite well with my Transformers and my GoBots as well. God, I love GoBots. Going off on a tangent. That's me ADHD. Sorry. 23. Which 1984 concert raised funds for Ethiopian relief? That was Band-Aid, or Do They Know It's Christmas? What is the name of the child that Ripley rescues in Aliens? It was Newt. Who had the hit with Come On Eileen? It was, of course, Dex's Midnight Runners. 26. What artist was known for Campbell's Soup can paintings? It was Andy Warhol. That one I didn't know. 27. This was a really tricky one I found. What was the name of the villainous AI in war games? It's W-O-P-R, or Whopper. W-O-P-R. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's a very, very good game. I remember watching it. I was always a computer geek. I was a programmer, basic programmer on Amstrad when I was like 6, 7 years old. So war games to me was absolutely fantastic. Look at the world today. 28. 80s slogan that encouraged kids to say no to drugs. This was Just Say No from Grange Hill. The name of the British sitcom featuring Vivian O'Neill, it was, of course, The Young Ones. And it also included Alexei Sale. The last one, question 30. What country did the UK go to war with in 1982? It was Argentina and was known as the Falklands War. So congratulations on level 3. Yes, Nick, I had the CPC 464 as well, 64k memory, cassette deck plugged into the side of it, colour screen, broken too many joysticks playing Daley Thompson's Decathlon. Absolutely loved it, and that's what set me off on my career into what I used to be, a computer programmer and network engineer and so on. That's what set me off, was having that Amstrad. I remember my parents going across the road into town to buy it from Rumbelows of all places, putting the cassette in and playing it, and then buying the magazines every month, typing in the code, and then waiting for the following month for them to publish all the edits because they didn't print it right in the first month. And I remember printing a Star Wars game, Trench Attack, and I was expecting the arcade. This was basically like 4 lines going down to a point, and these little crosses coming up, and you have to move around and target them and fire and things like that. But anyway, that's what set me off on my life as a geek, I guess, amongst other things. But I'm a geek, I admit it. Anyway, level 3. Oh, just on that, by the way. I've got a emulator that I'm going to do some videos of some of the 80s console games and computer games and so on. I'm looking for some advice if any of you have got one that does maybe PS2, Dreamcast type games. I'm just looking for one. So if you've got any ideas, drop it in the chat. Tell me which ones you think are quite good. Portable, of course, so I can take it away when I'll go working and stuff, because I'm tired of watching the hotel TV. So that's the thing that I'm doing this week. I'm researching games consoles. Anyway, level 3. These are getting harder. This is the last hard one. Oh, I forgot to go back to the quiz. This one was, of course, The Breakfast Club with the absolutely luscious Molly Ringwald. Again, one of my all-time favourite 80s films. I keep talking about my daughter. I'm so proud of it. She loves this film. Absolutely loves it. She's 20. She absolutely loves it. I'm taking credit. I brought her up well. Both me and my wife were both 80s fans. So, yeah, it's a fantastic film. And if you've not seen it, go and watch it. And if you've not watched it for a while, go and watch it again. Okay, level 3 now. So, we've got... This is an easy one. Question 31. What game involved rotating colour squares? I learned to do this on holiday last week. This was one of my missions last week while I was away. Was I have to do something with my hands. That's my condition. I have to be fiddling with things, as you can tell. My challenge was to do this whilst I was on holiday last week, and I did it. I learned it, and I am so absolutely made up that I managed to do it. So 31. What game involved rotating colour squares? (32) What line follows "Shot through the heart and you are to blame"? What line follows that? You were shot through the heart and you were to blame. I'm trying to say these without singing them. I'm singing them in my head. 33. What was the name of the boombox transformer that carried cassette tape robots? So what was the name of the boombox transformer that carried cassette tapes robots as well? I always wanted this toy. but I never actually managed to get it. I wanted the little ones. I have got a memory pen somewhere that transforms into Raptor. I have got a memory pen somewhere that actually transforms into him. It's ace. 34. Who played Jack Burton in Big Trouble in Little China? Again, fantastic movie as well. 34. Who played Jack Burton in Big Trouble in Little China? 35. What 80s artist fronted Frankie Goes to Hollywood? Ravage. That was it. It was the Decepticon one I was after. That was for question 33. 35. What 80s artist fronted Frankie Goes to Hollywood? 36. In Blade Runner, what are the humanoid androids called? So what do they call the humanoid androids in Blade Runner? Question 3. Fairly easy one, I think. What are the 3 rules for keeping a mogwai? What are the 3 rules for keeping a mogwai? Just sum it down to 3 words if you want. 38. Who won an Oscar in 1983 for Sophie's Choice? Who won an Oscar in 1983 for Sophie's Choice? 39. Which 87 song includes Back to Life, Back to Reality? 80s song includes Back to Life, Back to Reality. That's a stupid question. Question 40. The 1980s toy line was a Western adaptation of Japan's Go Lion series. What was it known as in Europe? Well, in the Western society. So a 80s toy line was a Western adaptation of Japan's Go Lion. What did we know it as in the West? Question 41. What artist released the 1981 album Speak and Spell? So what artist released the 1981 album Speak and Spell? '42. Really hard one I found, this one. What was the name of the vampire hunting comic book in the Lost Boys known as? So what was the name of the comic book of vampire hunting in the Lost Boys? Yeah, told you, Nick, they were going to get a bit harder. 43. Which 80s slogan advertised the Commodore 64? Why buy just a video game when? Complete that sentence. So 1980s slogan advertised the Commodore 64, and it says, why buy just a video game when? Complete that sentence. 1985, British soap opera starts airing. What is it called? 1985, which British soap opera started airing? And before anyone says it, it's not El Dorado. Somehow I've managed to find that on a random channel a couple of weeks ago. And the last one for this section, 45. Which toy featured medieval figures with magnets that allowed them to battle? What toy featured medieval figures with magnets that allowed them to battle? And your bonus round question is, name this movie. So, go through the answers. Question 31. What game involved rotating colour squares? It was, of course, the Rubik's Cube. It was the Rubik's Cube, but like I say, I never thought I'd do it. I had a mission while I was on holiday to do something, use my time wisely and relax, and I learned the Rubik's Cube. Chuffed. 32. What line follows? Shot through the heart and you're to blame. What line follows that? Here's, of course, You Give Love a Bad Name by Bon Jovi. What was the name of the boombox transformer that carried cassette tape robots and I wanted the Decepticon version? It was Soundwave. (34) Who played Jack Burton in Big Trouble in Little China? It was Kurt Russell. 35. 1980s artist fronted by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. It is, of course, Holly Johnson. Still going strong. 36. In Blade Runner, what are humanoid androids called? They were known as the replicants. What 3 rules must be followed for keeping a mogwai? No bright light. Do not get wet. Do not feed after midnight. 38. Who won an Oscar in 1983 for Sophie's Choice? It was Meryl Streep. 39. What 87 song includes Back to Life, Back to Reality? It was Back to Life by Soul to Soul. Didn't spot that one. 40. What 80s toy line was a Western adaptation of Japan's Gold Line series? It was, of course, Voltron. 41. What artist released a 1981 sound album, Speak and Spell? It was Depeche Mode. Again, one of my favourite bands. 42. What was the name of the vampire hunting comic in The Lost Boys? Really tricky one, I found this one. It was Destroy All Vampires. Fantastic soundtrack to that movie as well. A lot of In Excess on there. 43. Complete the 80s slogan as advertised by Commodore 64. Why just buy a video game when you can have a computer? 44. 1985 British soap opera was at first aired. It was, of course, EastEnders. One place you just do not want to live down there. It seems to be disaster day in, day out in that area. I would not be wanting to buy a house on Albert Square. And the last question for this one. Which toy featured medieval figures with magnets that allowed them to battle? It was called Battle Beasts. And this movie is, of course, The Goonies. I believe they may be making a reboot of this movie. I'm not sure how true it is, but I have heard they may be making a reboot, not as the original, but 40 odd years later. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. There's a lot out there at the minute on the internet about movies that are going to be coming back and things like. I've seen one with Thundercats. It looks amazing, but it's all CG, AI generated video. I don't know how real it is if they are making it. There's also supposed to be a He-Man movie coming out as well, not like the one with Dolph Lundgren. Let's just not even talk about that one. But there's supposed to be a new He-Man movie coming out. Again, I don't know whether they should. I'll just leave it as it was, as we remember them. So we are now on to our fourth and last level. Yeah, no, I agree, Nick. Just some things just shouldn't be remade, and I think Goonies and Thundercats are one of them. I did watch the new Axel Foley movie while I was away. That was an 80s film. I watched the new one, the 2024 movie, I think it was. That was actually quite good. Axel Foley, Eddie Murphy, he hasn't changed since the 80s. He looks exactly the same as he did in the 80s. It looks exactly the same. Scary. Anyway, level 4, expert level. Let's see how you get on with these. So, 1980s toy line included characters called Cyclone and Hordak. What toy line were they from? '80s toy line included characters called Cyclone and Hordak. What were they? What toy line was it? Yeah, Coming to America was pretty good. Um, 47. What new romantic band released to cut a long story short in 1980? So what new romantic band released to cut a long story short in 1980? '48 now. No, you should get this, Nick, I think. But what obscure 80s... I don't think it's that obscure. What obscure 80s programming language was taught on BBC Micros? What obscure 80s programming language was taught on BBC Micros? 49. What teen actor starred in Lucas, The Lost Boys and License to Drive? So which teen actor starred in Lucas, The Lost Boys and License to Drive? And the last one on expert level, short one this one. Question 50. What sci-fi horror film had the tagline, "Man is the warmest place to hide"? So what sci-fi horror movie had the tagline, "Man is the warmest place to hide"? And your bonus question is, what is this movie? So let's go through the questions and the answers. So question number 46. Which 80s toy line included characters called Cyclone and Hordak? It was Masters of the Universe. It also had Ram Man in there as well, but I kept that out because I thought that would give it away too easily. So yeah, Masters of the Universe. I used to enjoy where they used to have the crossovers with He-Man and She-Ra, where they used to have the crossovers like the Christmas ones and stuff. Always look forward to them. 47. What new romantic band released to cut a long story short in 1980? It was Spandau Ballet. 48. What obscure 80s programming language was taught on BBC Micros? It was BBC Basic. It wasn't that obscure. The Amstrad run Locomotive Basic, but it was all the same. And like I say, that's how I started. Yes, Secret of the Sword was amazing. God, that's a flashback. Getting very nostalgic this evening reading some of these. 49. Which teen actor starred in Lucas, The Lost Boys and License to Drive? It was Corey Haim. And the last one, which sci-fi movie had the tagline, "Man is the warmest place to hide"? Eerily, it was The Thing. And your last question, the movie is Critters. I love that film. Critters was above my age limit, but I used to love that film. Used to roll up in the ball and used to fire spikes at people. Trolls was another weird one that I remember watching as a child that slightly disturbed me for a while. But yeah, some fantastic memories there from me anyway. So I hope you enjoyed it. I want to try and do this. I can't do it every week. I think maybe once a fortnight I should be able to fit this in with my routine. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Always rewind it. Well, rewind, be kind, but replay it. Say if you got friends round, you can have your own little quiz between yourselves. See who gets. You know the answers. So rinse them dry. And yeah, lots and lots coming up. Loads and loads of ideas for this channel that I've got. So I've got some gaming, console gaming that I want to record. I've got a thing that plugs into my computer so I can record the screens. I'm going to try and do some of them tomorrow because it is bank holiday in the UK. So I've got these Transformer toys that I picked up this week. So we've got Grimlock, we've got Shockwave, and we got Optimus. I have got no idea what's inside these, but they were shouting at me from the shelf, and they had 20% off. So when I was in Manchester in the Trafford Centre, so I thought, why not? So I've got them to do. So I want to do some console videos. I want to do some unboxing of them. There's a 80s toy store not far from where I live, and it's all retro. The whole thing is retro, and I bought myself, because I'm a geek, I bought myself some Meta glasses, some Meta Ray-Bans, which have got the cameras built in, so you get like a point of view. I want to try and go and take some video in of the toys, so I've got both hands free to play with them and adjust them and do a bit of narration as well. Try and bring back some memories to everybody who may have had them. But it's a fantastic step backwards, that store is. It's brilliant. They're all second-hand toys as well. Some of them are in boxes, some of them are not. But the prices of them are phenomenal. Some of the prices are really, really high. And you just look at it and you think, I would have played with that and chucked it around the garden, or, you know, down the stairs, or, you know, like my Action Man with his parachute backpack. I didn't know you're supposed to take the parachute out before you threw him out the window. I vividly remember throwing him out the window and just watching him explode on the floor below. I didn't know you're supposed to take the parachute out of the pack. Nobody told me. I just threw it out the window, expected it to open as he was mid-air, and it didn't. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'd say if you've not subscribed, please do so. I really put quite a bit of effort into this, and it really is appreciated having subscribers. I'd say it's just skyrocketed over the last 2 weeks, so absolutely fantastic. Keep your eye open for the new videos coming. Anything you want me to cover from the 80s, pop it in the comments on one of the videos. I do go through every comment on there, and I do try and reply to as many of them as I can. Any ideas that people have got, I'm taking on board, and I will do a future video from. There's so much for me to do. I've got this channel, and I've got another channel I'm running, which is all about EV cars and things like that. It's not as interesting as this one. This has got me attention. So anyway, Big Pod Bear, we would love an 80s toy quiz. Right, that's it. I'm going to do an 80s toy quiz. I'll do some pictures, zooms in of different pictures, some advertising captions. Maybe I'll just get an Argos catalogue from the 80s and we just randomly pick out items. We did play a game once with my daughter and my wife. We might have been in lockdown. We were getting an Argos catalogue from the 80s. We were each picking something out of it, and the others had to guess how much that cost back in the 80s. Almost like a Price is Right type scenario. It was great fun. I might do something along them lines as well. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you. Please describe the pictures. Some of us can't see the screen. Right, okay. Sorry, yes, great point. I do a lot of work with our disability networks at work. I should have realised that people do use screen readers. Yeah, not a problem. I will put some clues on there as well for you. Absolutely fine. Want to be as inclusive as I can be. So brilliant. Thank you very much. It's Sunday evening. It's time to go and record the charts. It's time to go and have a bath, and it's time to log off. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.